17 Everyday Habits for a Clean Home. Tips for keeping home clean. Keeping the house clean every day is not easy. It feels like a silent battle. And if you've ever felt exhausted and collapsed in front of clutter, today you will see how an American widow, nearly 70 years old, turned her life around. In this video, you will learn 17 simple yet extremely effective habits. Cleaning as you cook to keep the kitchen tidy, never leaving a room empty-handed, washing and folding laundry right away, keeping countertops clear, and the most important secret, that done is better than perfect. I promise that by the end of the video, you will realize that cleaning is not just about tidying the house, but also as a journey to regain confidence and peace within your own home. If you care about cleaning, then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you find this content helpful. Your support is the motivation for us to continue sharing more meaningful things. Thank you for being here. The story I'm about to tell you is about Margaret Collins, an old friend of mine. She is now 68, having spent her whole life working in a garment factory in Wichita, Kansas. Years of standing at the machine and bending over left her with chronic back pain. Since her husband passed away, the spacious house gradually became cramped with old things and a musty smell. She lived quietly, rarely paying attention to the decline of her home. Until one summer day, when her granddaughter Emily came back from London, Margaret accidentally overheard a whisper that pierced her heart. "Mom, Grandma's house smells bad." That sentence struck her deepest pride. From that moment, Margaret began a new journey, finding 17 daily habits to keep her house always clean, tidy, and fresh. And I am here to tell you that journey. We will begin with her first habit. Habit 1. Clean as you go. I still remember the first time Margaret applied this habit. In the past, her kitchen was always full of dirty dishes and pots after cooking. With her aching back, just looking at it made her tired. But after deciding to change, she started tidying little by little while waiting for the soup to boil or the oven to run. When cooking was done, the sink was empty, the counter was clear, and there were no more piles of dishes waiting until the end of the day. Margaret told me that the secret is don't let time die. After brushing her teeth, she wiped the sink. After eating, she washed the plate and put the leftovers in the fridge right away. Just a few minutes each time, but gradually her kitchen was never messy again. For her, this was the first brick in rebuilding confidence in her home. Habit 2. Don't leave a room empty-handed. I still remember Margaret saying that in the past, she often left the living room with empty hands. A glass of water on the table, an old newspaper on the chair, a coat tossed aside, piling up day after day. But since she learned this habit, she started reminding herself, wherever you go, take one item. Going to the kitchen meant carrying the glass, and passing by the bedroom meant picking up a towel and dropping it in the laundry basket. Just a few small steps, but the house no longer had things lying around. Margaret said that thanks to this habit, she felt more in control, and the house seemed to be tidied bit by bit without much effort. Habit 3. Don't put it down, put it away. Margaret sighed when she looked at the counter full of papers and keys thrown around. In the past, she had the habit of putting everything in any free space, leaving it there all day. A letter, a pair of gloves, and reading glasses, all turned into clutter in just a few days. Later, she practiced a new habit. Don't put it down, put it away. Letters went into the mail holder on the shelf, glasses back into their case in the bedroom, and gloves hung in the right place by the door. At first it felt awkward, but it only took a few seconds, and gradually the house looked much brighter. Margaret said this habit helped her feel that everything had order, and her mind felt less chaotic as well. Habit 4. Break down your task. Margaret once said that what exhausted her the most was thinking she had to clean the entire house in one day. With her back pain, just imagining it was enough to make her give up. Then she learned to break everything down. Instead of cleaning the whole kitchen, she spent 10 minutes wiping the counter in the morning, sweeping the floor in the afternoon, and folding some towels at night. Laundry was the same, washing in the morning, drying in the afternoon, folding and putting away in the evening. Each small task was like a puzzle piece, and by the end of the day, she realized she had done more than she thought. Margaret said breaking things down helped her keep a light rhythm, no longer feeling exhausted or pressured to be perfect. Habit 5. A place for everything. I still remember Margaret complaining that sometimes she spent half an hour just looking for pain relievers or car keys. The house was full of stuff, but nothing had a fixed place. Later, she set a rule. Everything must have its own spot. She labeled the medicine box and kept it in the kitchen drawer, hung the keys on a hook by the door, and folded tablecloths neatly in the dining room cabinet. At first, it took some effort to set up, but once everything had a place, life felt much easier. Margaret said that now she could find things instantly, and every tidy corner gave her the feeling that she was still in control of her life. Habit 6. Good products and gadgets. Margaret said that in the past, she only used an old broom and a few bottles of smelly cleaners. Dust flew back up after sweeping, and wiping left her back aching. Later, she decided to invest in a small cordless vacuum light enough for her to hold with one hand. She also learned to use vinegar and baking soda for cleaning the kitchen, instead of buying dozens of strong-smelling solutions. Each time she used them, she felt relieved not to breathe in harsh chemicals. Margaret told me that with the right tools, cleaning was no longer torture, but became a pleasant part of her day. She laughed and said, "Sometimes just switching to the right tool changes life in ways you don't expect." Habit 7. Create a cleaning routine. Margaret admitted that in the past, she only cleaned when things got too messy. Otherwise, she ignored them. The result was days when she had to spend hours cleaning, with her back hurting and her body exhausted. Later, she built herself a gentle daily routine. In the morning after making tea, she spent 15 minutes wiping the counter and quickly sweeping the floor. In the evening before bed, she arranged the chairs in the living room and checked the sink. Small habits done consistently kept the house always clean, never falling into chaos again. Margaret said that with a clear routine, she no longer felt overwhelmed by cleaning, but instead felt more in control and more at ease in her home. Habit 8. Don't sit down before done. Margaret said her biggest mistake was sitting on the sofa when tasks were still unfinished. Just sitting for a while, her back ached, her eyes drooped, and she no longer had the strength to get up. So dishes stayed in the sink, wet towels on the chair, floor, half done. Later, she set a rule for herself, only rest when everything was done. Before dinner, she quickly tidied the counter. After eating, she washed all the dishes before allowing herself to sit down for tea. She said it only took 10 more minutes, but the feeling of resting in a tidy home made her twice as relaxed. Margaret laughed and said, "Sitting down before the work is done is tiring, but sitting down after everything is in order is true rest." Habit 9. Donate, then accumulate. Margaret once had a closet full of clothes, from sweaters her husband left behind to dresses she no longer fit into. Every time she opened it, she only felt suffocated and heavy. One day, she decided to take out each item and ask herself, "Do I still use it? Do I still like it?" The items with little value or that no longer fit, she gave them all away. A part of her husband's clothes she neatly packed and donated to the local charity, where they could continue to be used instead of sitting idle in the closet. Margaret said that when the closet became lighter, her heart also felt lighter. She told me, "When I learned to let go, I found I had more room to breathe, both in the house and in my heart." Habit 10. Keep floors clean. Margaret once slipped in her kitchen because of a greasy floor. That fall left her back hurting for weeks. From that day on, she began paying attention to keeping the floor always clean. She bought a non-slip mat and placed it at the entrance, practiced leaving shoes outside before entering, and every afternoon she used a small vacuum to quickly sweep across the floor. Whenever there was a spill, she wiped it immediately to prevent it from spreading. Twice a week, she also mopped the floor with a light mop, adding a few drops of lemon essential oil to keep the air fresh. Margaret said keeping the floor clean not only made the house brighter, but also made her feel safe and confident when walking without fear of falling. At her age, a clean floor was the greatest gift for her health. Habit 11. Clean up spillages immediately. Margaret shared that once she spilled a cup of tea on the floor, but left it until the next day to clean. When the tea dried, the stain stuck tightly, and no matter how hard she scrubbed, it wouldn't come off completely. From then on, she learned that every spill had to be handled right away. If soup spilled in the kitchen, she blotted it immediately with a paper towel and then wiped it with a damp cloth. If coffee spilled on the dining table, she quickly used diluted vinegar to clean it, not letting it spread. She said it only takes less than a minute to deal with it, saving dozens of minutes of scrubbing later. Margaret laughed and said, "Wipe it fresh, don't wait until it turns into a stubborn stain." For her, this was one of the small secrets that kept the house always clean and pleasant. Habit 12. Vinegar spray to prevent mold. Margaret complained that her bathroom always smelled musty. The black stains in the grout lines embarrassed her when guests visited. Later, she learned a very simple trick. Mix vinegar with water and put it in a spray bottle. After each shower, she sprayed it quickly on the tiles and glass, then opened the door to let the room dry. On days when she had more energy, she also used a squeegee to remove the water layer on the walls. Just a few minutes, but after a few weeks, her bathroom looked much brighter and the moldy smell disappeared. Margaret told me that this little trick helped her feel more comfortable every time she stepped into the bathroom. She said, "No need for harsh chemicals, just a bit of vinegar is enough to keep the room clean and safe." Habit 13. Keep counters clear. Margaret said her kitchen once had no space left to even set down a plate. The counters were always full of bottles, mail, and even unopened dry goods. Every time she wanted to cook, she had to clear the counter first, wasting time and straining her back. Later, she practiced keeping counters clear. Whenever she took something out, she put it back right after use. New mail went straight into a designated box instead of sitting on the counter. She only left out a few frequently used spices the rest neatly stored in the cabinet. Gradually, her kitchen was always bright, easy to wipe, and cooking became joyful again. Margaret laughed and said, "A clear counter not only makes the kitchen look better, but also makes my heart feel lighter every day." Habit 14. Laundry routine. Margaret shared that in the past, her laundry basket was always overflowing, clothes piling up for a whole week. Every time she looked at it, she only felt discouraged. Not to mention that bending down to pick each item made her back hurt even more. Later, she created a simple laundry schedule. In the morning, she put in a small load. In the afternoon, she hung it to dry, and in the evening, she folded and put it away immediately. For items that needed hanging, she hung them straight on hangers, not leaving them in the basket to wait. Thanks to this, clothes never piled up, and she no longer spent an entire day tackling a mountain of laundry. Margaret said this habit made her life feel much lighter, and each evening when she looked at her tidy closet, she felt she had won against her own procrastination. Habit 15. Done is better than perfect. Margaret admitted that many times she planned to clean, but stopped because she thought she didn't have the strength to do it perfectly. So day after day, the house became messier. Later, she learned a simple lesson. Done is better than perfect. If she couldn't clean the whole house, she cleaned one room. If she couldn't scrub the whole bathroom, she just wiped the sink and mirror. Each small task finished gave her relief, and the house gradually became cleaner day by day. Margaret said this habit freed her from the pressure of perfection. She said, "The house doesn't need to sparkle like in a magazine. It just needs to be tidy enough for me to feel at peace." Habit 16. Get kids involved. I still remember when Emily, Margaret's granddaughter, came back from London. She saw her grandmother struggling with the laundry basket and immediately offered a hand. Margaret gave her small towels to fold, and the girl happily treated them like a game. From then on, whenever the grandchildren visited, Margaret always had small tasks ready, like arranging toys, wiping the dining table, or putting away dishes. Margaret said what mattered was not how much work was reduced, but the feeling of sharing. She laughed and said, "When the whole family pitches in, cleaning is no longer a burden, but becomes bonding time." This habit helped Margaret realize that a clean home wasn't just by her hands, but also by the love and teamwork of her family. Habit 17. Contain food in kitchen. Margaret said that in the past, the kids often carried food all around the house, from the living room to the bedroom. Crumbs fell on the sofa, drinks spilled on the carpet, and ants appeared before she knew it. With her back pain, bending down to clean each time was torture. Later, she set a simple rule: food only in the kitchen or dining table. When guests or grandchildren came, she gently reminded everyone to sit in the right place. At first it was difficult, but soon everyone got used to it, and the house had far fewer stains. Margaret said that thanks to this habit, she no longer had to run around cleaning food messes. She laughed and said, "Keeping food in the kitchen makes my home cleaner and gives me more time to rest." I still remember the day Margaret completed her journey of change. The house that once smelled musty was now bright, airy, and safe. She no longer feared slipping on a dirty floor, no longer worried about guests seeing clutter. More importantly, she found the confidence she had long lost. She told me that every morning stepping into the kitchen and seeing a clear counter, every evening resting in a tidy living room, she felt like she was living all over again. And then the following summer, Emily returned from London. As she entered the house, the girl stopped, eyes wide. "Grandma, your house looks amazing." Margaret's smile then was brighter than ever. It wasn't just a compliment to a clean home, but recognition of her effort and perseverance. Margaret understood that cleaning wasn't about making the house perfect like in a magazine, but about making it reflect who she was now, light, free, and full of peace. And for her, the most precious thing was when loved ones returned. The home could now welcome them with both cleanliness and love. Remember, you too can start like her. Just one small habit each day. Then you will see not only will your house change, but your heart will also feel lighter. If Margaret's story gives you motivation, try starting with one small habit today. Leave a comment sharing which habit you will apply first. I'd love to hear your story. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss the next healing and transformational journeys. Your support is the driving force for us to continue sharing more meaningful things. Thank you for being here. See you in the next video.